We're going to try and get the Golf driving so we can get it out of the way, get the Jetta out of the garage so we can put the Golf inside for a couple of hours, can get the welding done inside and the sun doesn't bother us. Change of plans. First stop now is get the Golf going, get it driving, put in the new parts, and hopefully she runs and we can just drive her out of the driveway instead of pushing her. So let me make some room. What did we buy for the Golf? We bought a gasket, we bought some spark plugs, some new spark plug wiring, we got a new power supply thingy which we are going to replace, and yeah, a couple of other things. It's the hedge from the hood, and last but not least it's the rotary head, a new rotary head that we ordered to replace it. So we should be good to go. After this should cover it. So let's get the ignition thing in, let's get the spark plug wires in, let's get the new spark plugs in, and hopefully she's ready to go, ready to drive out the driveway. I've been working on the car, on the engine. We had a little bit trouble getting this guy in because the bracket that came with the new part wasn't wide enough. The holes weren't matching up and there was no way I could make it work. So we used the old bracket, but then after wanting to install this new rotary head, there was this thing that keeps it in place. Let me show you on the old one. It's this, which keeps the rotary head from moving when turning on. It goes right there. So when it's on, you can turn it. But first of all, this thing was too big, so I couldn't put it over. And then when I took the Dremel out and cut it a little bit smaller, it just wasn't sitting in the right position. It was like this, and there was no way to clamp it on. Also, the timing would have been bad, I guess, because the rotary would have been turning, and it would be like more like this instead of this. So what I did was take the Dremel, cut the piece out completely, so now I can set it quite flush, but we will be ordering a new one. This will be just for getting it off and on the driveway. We replaced the spark plugs, now it's just putting this on and the new wiring, and it should be ready to fire up. if it's alright with you guys, I would just like to go sit in a corner and cry now. I'm just kidding, but yeah. We had a lot of struggle with small things like bolts and nuts that wouldn't come loose or stuff that didn't fit. We had the idea of getting the car inside and started prepping the engine. The engine is now ready to fire up, but yeah. I forgot about the battery tray. Yeah, don't need the battery tray itself, but we do need a ground point on our chassis for the battery, and as you can see, this is the original ground point which connects the engine to the battery and the ground point of the chassis, but there is no way to connect this O-ring to the chassis at this moment. I didn't think this through.
The next day,
I've got to be honest with you guys. Yesterday I tried welding the fenders or the rear fender using a TIG welder. I got to give it to you all, mentioning that it wouldn't work, and yeah, it didn't. So I should have listened, but I was being stubborn and I wanted to try. I tried, didn't work, so we need to switch over to MIG welding now. I have close to zero experience welding with a MIG. It will be an adventure. Might call from a little bit help for that because I'm a TIG welder. I'm not sure if I can show you guys right now, but we tried and we got some pieces in, welded in, but it took me like, yeah, it really took me super long to get 2 pieces in, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to switch over to a MIG welder and ask somebody to help me out. But we are back now and we are going to do some other stuff. What we can try to do with the TIG welder is welding the plates for the battery tray and the other side. It's also bodywork, but this time we are welding on the chassis leg, and the chassis leg is a little bit thicker than the body part. So this might actually work. I'm crossing my fingers it will work. So you might as well try it, see if it works, and then at least we can get the car started or get it on a test drive. I will be using one of these to get the holes in the plate. Let's see what we got here. So no, won't be using this. We will be using this one. Yeah, that's the battery tray, because the battery sits right here. Now let's see if we have some drilling bits. Yeah, this might work. We want it to be big enough to get a nice weld in, but not too big. We'll be drilling holes and tagging with our TIG some welds on the chassis right here. So right now we're going to mark this up on the car, mark the places we want to drill, and get drilling. So let's get in our plate. Should be something like this. As you can see, the chassis squares up straight around here. Underneath you can see it makes the same turn as this thing, so we should just point this out and drill holes right there. Let's make some place, get these out of the way. So now we should be able to see the spots we pointed out to drill out. Next up is to make sure we drill in the right spot. So what you want to do is get a nail or something sharp, something with a sharp edge at the end. Can be a bolt, can be anything. There is a special tool for it, I know. I have one laying around, but I am honestly too lazy to find it. So I'm just going to use something that's right here. So you have this with the pointy end. What you do is you go right to the spot you pointed out, so one right here. You put it with the sharp thing right in the middle of the point, and then tap it with a hammer. And as you can see, it should have made some kind of a point, and then you get the drill bit, and when it touches and you start to drill, it's not going to go anywhere or down or up, but it's going to stay right in its spot, and that's what we want. We want to get this hole right there, and that's what you need to do. Get something sharp, hit it with a hammer, and make sure the drill bit won't go out of place. Got all holes smashed in with the hammer. Now we got our drill bit. Let's see if this works. right through, that's what we want. And the drill bit stayed in its place as we expected, so perfect. Do the same, repeat it with every hole you just marked. I'm going to quickly do this and return to you guys. We got some holes in, almost ready to tag them up. I also cleaned some parts off around the holes to get clear metal for when we are welding, that there isn't any like residue of the paint in there that puts up your weld. A little update, I just jumped in the car. I got off the phone with a guy who has a coilover set for sale for a Mark III Golf. So I've been looking for a cheap but decent set the last couple of days, and I found this guy not too far from here. It's like a 30-minute drive, and he has a cheap set of coilovers laying around. They are made for Mark III Golf, but the suspension for a Mark III and a Mark II is the same, so we should be good right there. And also it does fit on a Mark II, but the Mark III suspension goes way lower than a Mark II suspension does, so we are good right there too. That's a super plus point, that we can go even lower on the Mark III coils instead of using Mark II coils. But we are picking it up for only $80 or €80 for a coilover set that is not leaking.